today is November 11th, 2019. Today, the moon is in Taurus, okay? And tomorrow morning, the moon will be full. So remember how we talked about the fact that you got like a 3-day window to use the energy of this full moon? Well, tonight might be the time to use it, because tomorrow at 10:46 a.m. it's going void of course until it enters Gemini on Wednesday at about 3 something in the morning. So what's going on here with the moon in Taurus and the fact that we're going to have a full moon in Taurus? Well, a few things come to mind, right? So the full moon is great because it's this, height of the female power. It's this perfect big ball of light ready to give birth and all that great stuff. But then we've also got people go crazy around the full moon. We've got that sort of lunacy side of things where, the full moon can drive you sort of mad. It can make you a little crazy at times, especially if you're not in control of your own faculties and if you're more susceptible to the flow of the environment and to the current of things, and you're not able to adapt and to change when you feel these energies. So what goes on here is, in Taurus, we may have to confront and deal with the fact that our security, as far as financial possessions, material items, our career, things like that, how we're making money and how we're finding stability through finances may be called into question at this time. Now is a time to reflect upon that, because the full moon is like a time when we're about to give birth to something, or we're about to receive all the seeds that we planted before, right? The moon is a very cyclical thing. So when you see the fact that we've come to a full moon and it's in this nice earth sign of Taurus, it can either point out the fact that we feel safe and secure with our financial situation or we don't. Then would be a good time, to do some manifestational work around that. If you don't feel secure, how are we responding, to the situation of our finances? How are we responding to our situation when it comes to money? Now, the moon was conjuncting Uranus today, but that was earlier this morning. That was like 2:10 a.m. Okay, so what happens when the moon is conjuncting Uranus? We might have had dreams if we dreamt at all. Uranus has a hard energy to pull down into the dream state because it's so erratic and it's like flashes of lightning. So sometimes it's hard to wake up and have a coherent dream when we're dealing with Uranus. A lot of people who are under Uranian influence will be woken up almost like by electric shocks in their body because it's just such a potent force. Now, Uranus is so concerned with breaking down old structures. So if you did have a dream, it probably was to do with the breaking down of those old structures so that we can build new structures, which makes sense, right? And then as you come into today's solar aspect, you got the sun conjuncting Mercury. So all day the influence of the mind is heightened, okay? It's quickened. Anything that has to do with writing, communicating, anything sort of mercurial, let's say, is going to be favorable at this time. Because it's a conjunction, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will use this energy to your benefit or that everything will go as planned. That would be very dependent upon your own natal chart. But the fact that these two things come into conjunction can throw that energy into other spots of your chart, especially if you have aspects to the sun right now or to Mercury in the sky right now that connect to your natal chart, which I'm sure you probably do, with the moon in conjunct Venus later on, because this solar aspect to Mercury is really dependent upon the lunar aspects, and collectively speaking, because we obviously can't speak from your personal natal chart without it in front of me, it's going to be dependent upon what goes on. The problem here is that the moon is in conjunct Venus. It's not a bad aspect, but it's kind of neutral. It's almost like you might not even feel it if it has no real connections to your chart. A lot now tonight at 6:40 p.m., when that aspect takes place. In those couple hour time frame, it might be a good time for dinner. things might be pretty alright on the domestic front unless you have a poor attitude, or unless you're looking at things negatively. Your attitude is really going to shape the situations now, especially when that aspect is in play. And then your natal chart is obviously going to give us clues and hints as to what your attitude is and why it is that way at this time. Now, whether or not you even experience that aspect, like I said, is dependent upon how it touches your own natal chart. And because inconjuncts are so subtle that you always sort of feel them, but at the same time, they sort of relieve the tension and things sort of flow harmoniously, and so you don't really notice them as well. So before you can really get up that oomph to take some sort of action, the tension seems to sort of dissipate, and then things feel all right and everything just sort of clicks. So it can be both good and bad, this inconjunct. It floats between the 120 degree trine and the 180 degree opposition. So the trine is very beneficial. The opposition is a tougher aspect to deal with. It forces us to play with things outside of ourselves and deal with challenges in that way, and to reconcile opposing ideas or forces or energies. And in this particular aspect, the inconjunct at 150 degrees, which sits between them, we have to be aware that the fact that it acts somewhat like a trine at times and things flow harmoniously, and somewhat like an opposition at times and things don't always flow or connect that way. Sometimes we choose one or the other, and sometimes the tension that comes in really undermines what's going on at the moment, but it sort of dissipates as soon as it does. Because it's a collective aspect, watch for what's going on in your own chart. Also, today I'll be at Pixie Dust. I'm there every Monday and Wednesday, okay? So I'll be there today, Monday, and Wednesday. So if you haven't booked your appointment yet, call up Pixie Dust in Sarasota. I'll be there today from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll break out the natal chart. We'll dig in deep. We'll look at everything that's going on. If you want to go over the transits, we can do that. If you want to look at just base the natal chart so we can explore it in depth, that's always a great way to go too. If we want to combine them, let's sit down and go over it. Nothing's more important than your own natal chart and then what's going on specifically in your life as an individual. So yeah, come on down to Pixie Dust. I'll see you there. If not, I hope this information was helpful, and I will talk to you again soon.